All right, testing 1, 2, 3, testing 1, 2, 3. Let's see if you can hear me now. You should be able to hear me now. Hello, hello, hello. All right, let me see if I get some hands up on the fact that you can hear me now. Can you hear me? Now okay, fantastic. All right. Welcome to the show. As always, I appreciate you for showing up, and I apologize for the little technical difficulty at the beginning. We're going to jump right into it, and we're just going to give thanks to the Lord for letting me do this every day. And I got some good stuff in store for you today with stuff I promise you have not heard. So stick around and give me a little bit of your time today, and then you can go back to doom scrolling, right? Dear God, thank you for today. Thank you for this awesome opportunity to give you praise and to share some truth, God, in this political arena that we call America and the world, God. So I just ask that you get the great praise, glory, and honor throughout all of this, and we navigate this political forest the proper way. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. All right, let's get into it. Our first show today, first segment today is this right here. Parents. My child, my choice. Now, before we get into this, you could tell this is a play on words as it is, because the left is all about my body, my choice, and they don't want anybody telling me or you or anybody else what they can and can't do with their body, correct? Well, finally, parents have gotten the opportunity to turn that around, and it seems like it's actually working. So let's cut through the noise and get into it. For years, the political left has told parents they didn't get a chance to say anything in how their kids were vaccinated, right? You can't go to school unless you get this vaccination. And if you don't go to school, let your kid go to school, then truancy kicks in and they come and take your kid. CPS, DHS, or DPS, or whatever it is in your state, because I know it's different per state, gets involved, and now you're a bad parent because you don't want to shoot your kid up with something. And over the years, they have greatly increased the number of vaccines. Well, that's different now. They said, trust the science, don't ask questions, and do what you're told. That's what we've been told for years. So 17 vaccines are now blanket recommendations and have been for quite some time. And there are even more on the backside that they don't really tell you about. But there's 17 particular ones that they have blanketed that you had to have in order to send your kid to school, right? So there's no nuance with this. There's no parental authority with this at all. And if you pushed back and said, hey, I don't want to do this, I don't feel comfortable doing this, you were labeled anti-science, anti-vax, and anti-child. Or they said you were downright dangerous and a threat to your child and everyone that's around you. We saw this with COVID, right? We saw how if you didn't do the shelter in place or wear the mask, you were killing grandma. That's what they said. And they did the same type of narrative with your child in pushing these vaccinations, right? So the narrative has changed. It's cracked a little bit. And I'm here to tell you how, okay? So the federal health officials have scaled back the recommended childhood vaccines. And I hate the fact that they use the word recommended because it was mandatory. The only way you couldn't or you could get around it was a religious exemption. And I know not everybody is religious. Not everybody believes in something. We have people that are agnostic. We have people that are atheists. And those people tend to have been more compliant. And then you have people that would outright lie about believing in something just so they couldn't be forced to have their kid doped up with something that they don't know what it actually is. And they spin this narrative that you have to do it because it's for the safety of your child. So federal officials, like I said earlier, have scaled it back from 17 down to 11. They're not recommended. They were mandatory. Several shots are no longer blanket recommendations or blanket mandatory, and it includes things like the flu. You don't have to get that anymore. Rotavirus, you don't have to get that anymore. Hep A, Hep B, RSV, and meningococcal shots are no longer mandatory for your kids to go to school. And some of these things, if you look into them, do your research, because I'm not anti-vax. I am pro-truth. And some of these things, if you don't look into them for yourself, you could have your life or your child's life turned upside down. All I'm saying is do your own research. This is not where I tell you, trust me and I know everything. No, I don't know everything. If I did, I would be God. I'm not him because I'm here talking to you face to face in the flesh. None of us have seen God because the Bible says you can't see him and live, right? So I'm here just to give you something that nobody else is going to give you. Nobody else is going to push this because they don't want to be considered a loon. But between RFK with Make America Healthy Again and Trump's administration, they are changing things for the better. They're getting rid of the dyes in the food. They're getting rid of the things that actually cause cancer and other things in the food. It's slow, but it's happening. If you had been following me for any amount of time, you would know that I talked to you about earlier this year how for the first time in 80 years, the UK is taking our food. Europe is taking our food. Before they said, no, we don't want that American crap. Because you put things in the food that you have that we don't want in our food. For example, right here, covered up, you all know who that is. That right there. They've been removing things from that. Doritos has been removing things from theirs. Doritos had something in their food, in their chips rather, that actually caused major issues with your gut. Why is that in there? Well, they're removing it. Why are there microplastics in our food? That needs to go as well. It's crazy to me that you actually see these things in your food and you just comply. Well, now with this vaccine crap, parents get a say. They get a say. The government is saying these decisions should involve the parents and the doctors instead of Big Pharma coming down and saying, hey, if you get this kid to take this, you'll get a kickback. And then they go to the schools. Hey, if you tell them they can't come to school unless they get this, we can force the doctors to tell them that they need this, give the doctors a kickback, and now we're pushing these medications on everybody. It's crazy to me. Parents deserve a say. Doctors deserve a say. Some of these doctors aren't out here to actually hurt. They're here to help. But their hands are tied because the Big Pharma says, oh, well, if you don't get this done, then we're going to pull our donations or whatever we're giving you. And now the doctor's office is shut down. America's not ran by a government right now. It's ran by a corporation. It's ran by pharmaceuticals. So that's not a minor adjustment. That's a major shift in what we've seen for years. The numbers increased on how many vaccines you're supposed to take. Now this is actually something that you don't have to do. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice to have that lifted up off your shoulders, that you don't have to play these games anymore? This change is followed as a direct action from President Trump's and the HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, like I mentioned earlier. And for the first time in years, the federal government is stepping back instead of forcing compliance. I'm tired of having things shoved down my throat and told that I got to do something. Are you an adult? I know I'm an adult. Why do I need the government telling me what I can and can't do or should and shouldn't do? Aren't we supposed to be the land of the brave and the home of the free? Hey, where's our freedom? There's no freedom if we're constantly told what we can and can't do. And they make all of these rules and regulations that if you don't abide by them, you're shipped up the creek without a paddle and you lose your job and all these other things. It's crazy. So here's why this ultimately matters. The same people who scream my body, my choice are suddenly forgetting that logic when it comes to children, right? You got people up in arms, and I guarantee you this will be big news next week or the week after. I promise you. And the lefties are going to be hair on fire. Yeah, they want kids to die. All this other weird stuff that they do. And they wanted mandates, a.k.a. coercion, and zero parental consent. But on the flip side, weren't they trying to cut off kids' genitals and sew up their genitals because kids can choose? Kids can't choose one thing from the next. They don't know whether they want goldfish or gummy bears, but you want them to be able to consent to something that is life-altering. And it's really something that was pushed by the parents. Now, parents actually get a choice in what goes inside their kids' bodies. I wish I had a choice in what it went inside of my body. Thankfully, I had a mom that was kind of very curious about everything, and now she's one of the best nurses that I've ever met in my life. because she's curious, she reads, she researches. You should do the same thing. If adults have bodily autonomy, the parents should have moral authority over their children in this aspect, because some of these things can alter their lives forever. So you should get a choice in whether or not you do that. This isn't anti-medicine, it's pro-freedom. You shouldn't be told you can't go to school because you didn't take a medication. That's not cool, because then they're going to tell you, because your kid's not in school, like I stated earlier, we got to take your kid for truancy because you've failed to get this kid in school. Well, the school told me I can't come unless I get this. I don't want my kid to have this. It goes against what I believe. And in a lot of these cases, the religious exemptions aren't even applying anymore. It restores the idea that parents are not just, it restores the idea that parents, not bureaucrats, know their children's best. Who would trust Nancy Pelosi with their child? Who would trust Kellogg's cereal with their child? Not I, because they're just going to use our children as test dummies, right? It exposes the truth that the left hates to admit, and ultimately their issue was never science. It was about control. And for too long, we have relinquished too much control to the government. It's time that we start living as the adults that we think we are and tell daddy government to sit down. It was never supposed to be government in our business, ever, not at all. We were supposed to police ourselves. And ultimately, we've struggled and failed to police ourselves because we're weak as a society. This is why we have a bunch of people defending lawlessness. It makes no sense to me. So no more mandates, no more fear campaigns, no more government pressure, just information, choice, and parental authority. The left wanted force. Parents got freedom. We are finally moving into a future where things work. I'm here for it, and you should be here for it too, because if you want to be controlled, go move to one of these authoritarian countries like North Korea. Then you could only get one of 4 haircuts. Would you like that? Being told how you can get your hair cut? Or better yet, since you are so pro these Muslims, these musty, dusty goat bangers, since you're pro these people, why don't you move to, not Iran, because they're actually trying to fix their government. How about, one of these African countries in Sudan, or maybe, Kuwait, maybe go to Turkey. And that way you can't dress but a certain way. You can't be out in public unless you got a man on your arm, women, because it's mostly white liberal women that are pushing these narratives. So our next story here that we have here is a pretty good one too. It's PBS. Let's pop that over there. Yes, PBS. Go woke. No more go broke. Go bankrupt. We're going bankrupt here. So for nearly 60 years, PBS was funded by taxpayers. And the mission was simple. Public information, education, which I don't like the word education, so I'm going to stop right there before we move on. PBS used to teach. And if you know me, I'm big on etymology of words. We don't want education. We want to be taught. Because education does not give me an opportunity to think for myself critically or otherwise. Whereas teaching does. I teach you how to do it. I show you how to do it. I let you go off and make your mistakes, and then I correct. Education says if you don't do it this way, you're wrong. I don't know how many times as a parent I have called the school because I taught my kids how to do things a certain way. That is right. That renders the same results and shows how they did it, but it wasn't how they wanted to. So I asked the teacher, is it about truth? Is it about solution? Is it about being right? Or is it about following in line and doing what you say? Because PBS used to do that. They used to teach. And they were about early childhood learning. No real push for politics. No real ideology. No activism. But that mission changed. It changed grossly. At first, it was real slow. Because, Satan, he ain't going to hit you with the bat out the gate. He's going to wait till you're tired. He's going to wait till you're sleepy. And he's going to slowly poke you with that knife. And you don't know what's going on. And then he'll keep pushing it in. You don't know what's going on. And then once he's got it in, he's going to be turning it and twisting it until you bleed out, because that's his goal. At first, they did it slowly. Then they popped out and hit you with it openly. They were like, yeah, now I got you. But now there's consequences, and they've arrived. You can't take taxpayer money and push a narrative. You can't take taxpayer money and push an ideology. Not everybody is okay with the LGBTQIA 167834589. Not everybody's okay with that. I'm not okay with it. And I know people that don't even believe what I believe that are not okay with it. So why are we pushing ideologies? Why do you have a trans Muppet? Why do you have a gay Muppet? That is not teaching kids anything. That's educating kids to accept an ideology that might not be okay with the parent. But we grew up thinking and knowing Sesame Street and PBS was okay, so we let our kids watch it. And because we are dumb, we go off with them watching the TV while we're going doing other parental things, not knowing our kids are being indoctrinated. The word education is defined as this: systematic. Look it up. And then I want you to go look up the word teach or taught, whichever way you want to flip it. But education is defined as systematic giving or receiving of instructions, usually at a high school or collegiate level. I got you. Define the word instructions. Instructions are defined as orders. So, systematic giving or receiving of orders. What is an order? I think military when I hear orders. Do this, sir, yes, sir. Do this, sir, yes, sir. Do that, sir, yes, sir. Orders. I'm not good at following orders. I'm not. Because if I see something I don't like, I don't follow it. That's just common sense. So PBS has lost all federal funding. Really, I'm not okay with them having federal funding in the first place, but it is what it is. So for 58 years, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is now shutting it down. Praise God. It wasn't an accident. Congress pulled the money. And it was a lot of pressure from Trump to get that done, but we don't need to go there. And without taxpayer dollars, the operation has collapsed. I kind of feel like they are going to be like Bernie Sanders. I'm here once again to ask you for some of that money so we can stay up and running. Who cares? No bailouts, no rescue, no safety net. Public broadcasting was only public as long as taxpayers paid for it. And if it's public broadcasting, you should be broadcasting what the public wants to know, not some narrative, not some political agenda. I don't care if it's right or left. F both of them. You should be pushing what the public wants to know. That's it. And my children should never be indoctrinated to think or feel or believe anything other than what I show them. I don't want my kid coming to me after they just watch Arthur with the little fist, the little fist that Arthur did. After you watch Arthur, Daddy, why does that man who says he's the daddy have another daddy to those kids? I shouldn't be talking about that with my kids at 5, 6, 7 years old. No, I'm sorry. Not sorry. So here's the part that they don't want you to say out loud, ultimately. PBS stopped serving the general public. Programming shifted. Less teaching, more narrative. Less neutrality, more ideology. And when you stop being socially beneficial, people stop supporting you. And when you say rely on the government and their money, that support can disappear overnight, like it should have. This isn't censorship. This is accountability. If you want to go woke, you can go broke, or in this case, bankrupt and permanently shut down. Taxpayer funding is not a guarantee at all. It never has been, never should have been, because taxation without representation is theft, right? I don't want my kids learning about that stuff or seeing that stuff. I don't want to see that stuff myself. So you're not representing me. And I guarantee you there's a lot more of me out there that just keep their mouth shut because they're scared, because they don't want to be persecuted for saying certain things. But I'll say the quiet part out loud. I don't want it. If you want to be gay, if you want to be trans, or any of the other letters that you add to that crap, or if you want to push this ideology that Democrats are better than Republicans or Republicans are better than Democrats, whatever, I don't want it. Give me my money back. You abandoned the mission, PBS, and the funding followed with the abandoning. They abandoned ship with you. If media outlets want public trust, they have to earn it, not demand it. It doesn't work any way else outside of that. And it shouldn't work any way outside of that. Our next story here is one of my favies. I'm here for this story right here. Let me get it up on this over here. There we go. Mission Arctic Control. So this one's pretty interesting because everybody knows that Trump has won at Greenland, right? Yeah. Everybody knows that Trump has won at Greenland. If you don't know that, you've been living under a rock. So world leaders are getting bold now. I'm going to segue real quick before we get into this mission. They're taking a big leap of faith with their mouths. And they're talking, they're posturing, and they're taunting, especially after what happened to Venezuela. You should have seen all of these world leaders. If Trump wants me, especially the Colombian president, Trump wants me, he can come get me. Bro, Maduro said the same thing, and he got kidnapped in his bed. I would keep my mouth shut. They think Trump's words overall are just noise, and Trump is a loud symbol, but he's a symbol with an edge. They think this administration won't act, and that assumption has been made before, that America won't do anything, and it's always been wrong. America will sit back and watch things unfold, wait, bide their time, watch the chess pieces move, and when you think you ain't gonna have them come over and do nothing, they hit you in the face. They'll run by with those drive-by fist punches to the face. So overall, what has happened with Mission Arctic Control? Trump's advisor Stephen Miller, however you want to pronounce it, made something very clear. Greenland matters. Strategically, militarily, and economically, it matters. It matters for the U.S. security and Arctic control. That's why it's called Mission Arctic Control, and rare earth minerals. And the military positioning is strategic for the simple fact that we can keep other people in check. We can keep other people in check. I really feel like Trump is pushing for an expansion of America, as it were, not towards Venezuela or anything like that, but towards complete dominance. If we're going to be the world's police, we should be able to dominate all of it and be the authority, if you want us to be that. Otherwise, we can take all of our money and strictly be America only and see how the world fends for itself as bigger countries, as Kamala says, take over smaller countries. Because Russia is a big country and Ukraine is a small country. Yeah, y'all remember that. So Miller said plainly, Denmark could not stop the United States if America decided to move to secure Greenland. That wasn't bluster or big words. That was a statement of reality. Who can stop America? You can have every country on the planet join together and they still might lose to America. It would be a rough go at it. It would be a very rough go. And if we lost, every other country would be licking their wounds for decades, if not centuries, after the fact. So you got to listen closely. Foreign leaders are testing Trump. I see it and have been seeing it for a while. They're daring him, taunting him, and calling his bluff. That's a dangerous move when you have a person like Donald J. Trump. And I'm not glazing him. Donald J. Trump is a very, very, very egotistical person. He is not a narcissist. Stop calling the man a narcissist. He is not a narcissist. He is an egotistical maniac, an egomaniac. He doesn't care about winning. He doesn't care about being the best. He cares about being right, and that is dangerous. That is very dangerous, because a person that always wants to be right and pushes always to be right will guarantee that they're always right. And that brings the wins, and that brings being the best. Because Trump's words have never been just words. If he couldn't get it done by Congress in his first term, he dang sure tried through executive orders. This is why you've seen them try to block him over 400 times in its efforts to secure America. So when adversaries miscalculate, Trump responds with action. Didn't he say Maduro's dancing was the final straw? You're not going to taunt this man. He's got too much ego. It's big. It's wide. It's strong. His ego falls everywhere and decimates wherever it falls. So Denmark even said if they see U.S. military forces, their military can shoot on sight. Denmark. Anybody from Denmark? Share this to someone from Denmark. Y'all only have 64,000 active military. That's reservist and Army, Navy, Air Force, all that good stuff. You only have 64,000 active. Sir, don't make us send our Space Force 8,000 strong to put hands on you. Don't make us send the Space Force, baby, because you don't want that smoke. They come out here with some daggone space UFO ships and abduct you, and you'll be getting probed. Don't do that. That kind of talk is very reckless because history shows what happens next after the fact. There's an old saying, if you mess with the bull, you get the horns. Greenland isn't a joke. It isn't a meme, and it isn't symbolic. It's strategic. Anybody would want it. Russia wants it. They just won't say it. Trump says the quiet part out loud all the time. And when American leadership signals its seriousness, the smart move is to listen. It's to listen. Trump is not taunting you. He's not testing you. And he's not trying to provoke you. He's just letting you know this is what we want. And this is what we'll probably get. How we get it matters. How we take it matters, because I won't support him just going in there guns blazing. But I also won't support Denmark provoking him to go in there guns blazing, because the man's crazy. He probably will do it. So you might want to shut up. That's just between you and me. Shut your mouth and know your place, and we can move on to a happier day. Happy days, right? Our next, oh man. Our next segment is called Operation Mini Ice. Let me get it up on the other platforms. Operation Mini Ice. So this isn't really about the shooting that took place. I promise you it's not. This is about something else, but we're going to get into the shooting because that matters. Something big is happening in Minneapolis, just like it was happening in Chicago and all these other big cities. And no, this didn't start because of the shooting. 2 days before the shooting took place, any headlines that popped up were giving the green light on what Trump was doing, and the decision was already made to do this. This was planned, this was deliberate, and this was coming either way, whether someone got shot or not. And what this thing was 2,000 federal agents were going to be deployed to Minneapolis area. So if you thought that ICE was bad before, now you got all sorts of federal agents running around there. And this is now the largest immigration operation ever to be carried out by Immigration and Customs Enforcement in the United States. Let that sink in. 2,000 federal agents armed to the teeth being deployed to a simple little place called Minneapolis to round up some sand people. I'm going to be nice. Sand people. And again, the decision was made before the shooting incident ever occurred. So you need to understand that. Shortly after the decision made, the shooting happened. And I'm going to play this so you guys can see. Let me pop this off over here and check this out. And maybe you can judge for yourself.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my fucking God!
ma'am filming or the ma'am behind the person filming that's yelling and screaming, I'm going to let you know something right now. If you try to run in a vehicle, you're going to be shot. Whether she almost hit that guy or not, you're going to be shot. Why? Because vehicles are treated as weapons. When a lawful order is given, vehicles are treated as weapons when you try to run. Then you put the fact that you almost hit somebody, that's a federal agent, and you further, the charges. So you didn't get a chance to be charged, you got judged on the spot. They were telling black people for years, shut up and just comply and you won't die. Now some white LGBT supporting liberal caught the same flack, and now they want to say, you should have just stopped. Yeah, you're dumb. You're dumb. You should have just complied and got out of the car, because it is a federal crime to impede an investigation. I think it's USC